Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Movies by McManus podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies, comics, TV, books, in the context of who created it and what effect it's trying to have on the world. I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike, as always.
I'm not your host, Greg.
Nope, he's Mike. And this week we're going to be talking about the 2020 film The Devil All the Time, directed by Antonio Campos, who is a director that I don't really know all that well. I'm not like super familiar with him. He hasn't really done a lot up until now. Like, this is kind of his major, first major film. And it's based off a book by Donald Ray Pollock, who is also an author that I don't really know very well. So I'm trying to get into who created it and what effect it's trying to have.
Why'd you want to do this one then?
Why'd I want to do this one? I wanted to do this one because I like this movie a lot, and I know you disagree with me on this.
Well, you mentioned in your breakdown something that I thought was very interesting, how some people liked it, you're in that category, and some people thought it was like basically just over the top violent with no real reason, and I'd put myself in that category. I didn't feel like there was much of a plot. I didn't feel like there was much of a story to be learned. I felt like the violence was, almost like were the writers having a competition. That's something I said when we were watching it. It's almost like the writers were having a competition with themselves. Like, no, I could make it more fucked up. No, I can. No, let's cut the guy's dick off. No, let's kill his mother.
I wanted to do this movie because this is my favorite movie to come out this year. And
I don't know what. Not much has come out
this year, but I saw this movie. I really like this movie. Yeah. I think it has a lot to say. First of all, it has a lot to say about religion.
Sure,
it has a lot to say.
Hasn't that been done 1,000 times?
I don't know if like this, of a movie that's trying to say that religion can turn a good person into a terrible person.
Sure.
And you see that very early on with the character Willard. Willard returns from home, and he is like a bit of a weirdo, but he's not an angry person.
Which one is Willard now?
Willard is the father. Willard is Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
He returns home from World War II, and you see he is actually like a very happy person, and he's not religious at all. Yeah. He says that, like, I haven't prayed in forever, and it's not until he becomes religious that he becomes angry and he becomes violent. And the two themes that I really liked are, one, like all the critiques on not religion per se, but how we perceive religion, how we perceive like kind of this relationship with God. And I also liked kind of the cycle of violence and how it permeates from one generation to another.
It would have just been more impactful, for someone to make this type of movie in like 1965. Or sooner. Like 2020, you're making a movie about how religion is like, not the greatest thing. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's just not the most mind-blowing thesis in the world.
Well, maybe not, but I really liked the way that they went about it. And the performances in this movie I thought were great. When
there was a lot of good ones.
Robert Pattinson is he was my favorite performance of the year so far. He plays like this really sleazy priest character who really uses his position and power to take advantage of young girls, basically.
Yeah.
Of which is also something that we have seen a lot of people. And another character that I really like was Sebastian Stan, who plays the corrupt sheriff, who was great. Who you see him, it's not just in religion, it's positions of authority that people think, since I'm in this position, I'm able to do horrible things, and I'm not a bad person for them. Basically, like, me being in this position of authority gives me the right to do shitty things to other people, and it gives me the right to cover up shitty things that my family has done, because Sebastian Stan's sister is a serial killer.
She's at least
an accessory to
a
relationship
with a serial killer, yeah, and,
right,
and an accessory,
and an accessory, and there is a hint that, like, she kind of enjoys doing this.
In the beginning, I guess.
In the beginning, she kind of enjoys doing this. They take pictures of their victims, and she's kind of looking through them as, like, almost nostalgic, in a way. Which
a lot of people, going back to, I feel like we touched on a lot of things off the bat that could relate to older episodes, like the idea, like, Tony Soprano's not going to hell because the mafia are soldiers, like, being in a position of power. Then you have, like, the idea of, like, a serial killer, like, going back through his trophy garden, like Lost Girls.
We did Lost Girls,
and then just the idea of people using power like almost like a worry-free in Sorry to Bother You, like, yeah, we're making human horse hybrids, but it's because we're going to make more money. And it's like, but you see that all the time with politics, with business, where it's just like, just grow at all costs and take away healthcare, take away benefits. It's there's kind of a lot in that. I thought it's funny because, I don't know if funny is the right word, but the first time we see the wife and husband murderous duo, I honestly thought it was more of like a sex thing, and that it just went wrong.
Yeah.
But then you see that
this is actually this
is what they do.
I like that.
I thought it was also just like, oh, really? We're showing like a cuck relationship because it's 2020 and we have to be like sexually progressive or some shit. This
movie really isn't like sexually progressive at all. That's what I thought. That is kind of a critique that I have with this movie. One of the things that I don't like about it is that the women characters really don't have a lot of agency in this movie.
Ooh, that's a big progressive word. That's a Hunter College word.
It's just the female characters are not the ones who progress the story along in any real meaningful way.
Sure, I mean, that's kind of a critique of like a lot of.
I think that's a critique of a lot of things. I'm telling you, especially in 2020, most movies are more mindful of that. I felt this movie could have been more mindful of that.
Yeah.
Especially since there are a lot of female characters who I liked.
Like who'd we like in this one?
Well, the grandmother is very nice and caring. Is very
Shout
good.
Out to the grandma.
Even Sandy, the female serial killer.
Shout out to all the grandmas holding it down.
Shout out to all the grandmas holding it down.
Grandma is a big key. That's a big key role in the administration.
So I had another thing I wanted to say kind of about the way people view religion and the way people view their relationship to God is by basically never giving credit or, the dark side of that responsibility to themselves, instead giving it to God. One small thing is that I mentioned in my breakdown and mentioning the grandma is that grandma said, like, she's known as being the best cook in the county.
Yeah.
And she says, like, oh, it's not me, it's the Lord guiding my hand. And it's a small thing of just how these people think of just like, no, we're completely useless and it's actually God doing anything. And I mean, you could call that humbling in the case of the grandma of just saying like, oh, it's not me, I don't want to take credit. But you can also, there's also a really dark side to that of the Reverend, played by Robert Pattinson, does, before even we realize that he has been coercing these teenage girls into having sex with him. He is a complete nasty person.
Yeah,
he is a
dickhead.
horrible person. He, doesn't have any of the qualities that we want to see in a reverend. He has a very flashy car, and he likes to show off the fact that he has a lot of money, which, is especially insulting considering that it takes place in a very poor community. Mm-hmm. And they kind of the town kind of sees him and says, well, we still have to respect him because, he's the reverend and God wants him here and he's the voice of God. And that relationship can be extremely toxic. Of
course, look at the child sexual abuse scandal.
And bringing up, it was in Boston during the spotlight,
right.
When they were uncovering all that. A lot of the young boys were like, yeah, I knew, I was in pain and I didn't want this happening, but he speaks for God, so I can't say anything against him.
Well, that's why it's, first of all, any form of child abuse is the darkest, most disgusting thing you could possibly do, because children look to us as the people that are setting the rules.
Yes.
So you're really just destroying someone's mind, because they're looking to you children trust us that we're going to do the right thing, because we know better. And then you even further that concept by evoking the deity.
Yes.
It's just the amount of guilt and shame is just horrible. And people that subjected victims to any form of sexual abuse, they're especially, I hate even to say it, towards children, for sure, whether there's a hell or not, I hope there is, just for those people, so they can fucking eternally burn.
Right. And it's deep and it's dark. And so another thing I want to say, when you're talking about criticizing religion in 2020,
right.
Yes, obviously that has been done several times before, but I feel like this movie kind of takes it a step further.
Yeah.
While other movies have shown that, yes, just because someone is a religious and maybe pious person does not mean they can't be a bad person. This movie kind of goes that extra step of saying this person is bad because they're religious.
I get that. I mean, that's a fair assessment. If you want to say no movie's gone this hard against religion, then fine. It's almost like a. But this was my problem with Midsummer to a degree, where it's just what is this new thing where the violence just has to be almost comical? It's first of all, and again, another problem is the CGI stuff, where it's when they cut off the guy's dick, are we supposed to buy that?
That's the.
And then when the ants are falling on his head, am I supposed to buy that?
Okay.
I don't understand.
The CGI isn't great.
Yeah.
When it comes to the hyper violence, I kind of agree with you with Midsummer, where there are a lot of extremely violent scenes in Midsummer that I was I could do without all of these. I don't really think.
And by the way,
I don't think this movie goes that way, except for the scene where Carl and Sandy, when they mutilate the guy's genitals.
Yeah.
That's really the only scene that I was we can do that without it. Especially since there's a scene later on when Sebastian Stan is looking through the photographs, and we see that they have kind of mutilated people, but it's in. This is how I view movies.
Sure.
The hyper violence is better if you kind of see it through
passing.
A lens.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So if a guy's cutting someone's dick off, that's horrible to watch and it's unsettling, but much more unsettling and much better in terms of story is someone is looking at a negative photograph of a guy's being
what's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if do you remember the movie The Sixth Sense?
Yes,
okay,
of course.
So Well, that came out in like 98 or 9, I think. So I was like 9 or 10. And like our family probably, maybe, I don't know, you were probably too young, but I feel like our family watched that when I was little. And one scene that always like, it actually like ruined my year.
I think I know what scene you're talking about.
Was the scene where they poison... a mother like poisons the young girl, but to your point, you don't see it. You see it because someone's giving, and I'm butchering the thing, but like someone's given a VHS tape.
Yeah, I forget exactly what happens. I haven't seen Sixth Sense in a while, but no,
you see it through a lens.
It's through a lens,
it's like
and I feel like your imagination can come up with way worse stuff than what they can show on screen.
Exactly.
And I think
that's the whole Jaws thing.
Showing a negative photograph, especially since it is a negative and you don't really get a clear view of the picture,
right?
Like you can get a much more horrifying image in your head than if you're actually seeing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But I don't really think that this movie is taken. That the violence takes away from the movie. Most of the violent scenes are someone getting shot in the head.
I don't know if it's just because of, I don't know if it's a coincidence of like films that we've done recently, but I feel like with new films, there's almost this like, this urge to like do more, like to go over the top. Like I feel like back in the day, it used to be what you're talking about, where it's more reserved, or more like, with horror movies, like let your mind
like with violence or just in general.
With violence and in general. Okay. Like, I don't know. Like, I could think of, like, The Five Bloods, for instance. Like, that. Right. I feel like so many films that we've done recently, it's just, like, over the top. With
you have a point. I'm actually thinking of that. Like, films have kind of gotten gorier.
Right.
And I don't know. It might be just because of streaming, because you can see it more. Maybe. I mean, The Five Bloods was also Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What was this? This was obviously a Netflix movie, right?
This was a Netflix movie.
And it was not intended to be? They did it because of Corona?
I don't know if that's for sure. I know that they did a limited release in theaters, but Netflix also...
Before. When did it come out? In January or something?
No, they might have done limited releases. Besides New York, their theaters open.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Netflix also, a lot of the movies they produce, they'll still do a theater release just so that they can...
that was the whole Irishman thing.
The Irishman, just so that they can be nominated for Oscars. I don't know if this is going to get nominated for anything. I think Robert Pattinson should get nominated. Did
he have enough screen time?
Yeah. For Best Supporting Actor.
Isn't there a certain rule?
Not really. People are saying there should be rules. Yeah. So... a couple of years ago, I don't remember exactly what year, there was a movie called Hell or High Water. And in it, Jeff Bridges is essentially the main character of that movie. But they nominated him for Best Supporting Actor instead because they thought that... Jeff Bridges would have a better shot of winning Best Supporting Actor.
Gotcha.
So after that, they
kind of a clever little thing they were trying to do.
I don't think they ever made an official.
Did he win the best?
No, he didn't win. So it didn't even work out. But people were saying like, no, he's the main character. Yeah. Like that's the only lead actor is the only thing he should qualify for. So they did kind of want a rule that. You could be in a movie for as little as possible, but they're saying if you have too much screen time, then you can't be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Because also, like, how...
but what if you're not... What if you're like the Joker in, 1989 Batman, Jack Nicholson? He could be supporting actor.
I know,
he's not the main character.
I know, that's why it gets tricky. Yeah. That's why it gets tricky. Like, what really is a supporting...
I think that's pretty easy. It's just you're not the protagonist. No,
I mean, there are movies who have more than one protagonist.
Yes, I mean, that's
fair. The way they got it with Hell or High Water is basically like Jeff Bridges was a police officer, and he was hunting down Chris Pine, who was a bank robber, and you kind of see it from both of their perspectives, and that's why they're trying to say, like, oh no, Chris Pine was the main character. So there are ways to get around it, but there are a lot of people who think, like, if you exceed a like certain number of screen time, then you shouldn't be allowed. But Robert Pattinson, I think, is the best performance of the year. Tom Holland, who plays Arvin, I think is amazing. Arvin is the main character, the boy.
The boy, yeah, he was awesome.
He was great.
Tell you what, you're really rooting for this kid.
You are.
Towards the end, I'm like, they better kill every motherfucker in here. He better just go on a fucking shooting spree and kill all these motherfuckers.
Well, the point of the movie is he's supposed to not do that.
I know.
The point of the movie is that when you act on your violent urges, things always go wrong.
Sure.
I see I see two themes in this movie. One I kind of touched on of, the relationship to God. There's also the idea of, like, the test of faith, where
which is so stupid.
Don't think that God's going to come down and save you. That's not what
I'm going to stab my wife in the neck.
Of thinking of
and then God's going to
there's the character who he drinks strychnine because he thinks, like, if I have enough faith in God, God will just protect me.
I don't remember that.
All right, so the pastor, Roy, who murders his wife. His cousin is another pastor.
By the way, the earth did not miss that guy. I mean, he was not the brightest bulb.
No, he wasn't. In the first scene, when he's going into the church, he's leading his cousin who's in the wheelchair, who's playing the guitar.
No, I know the character.
Oh, yeah. No. So Theo...
you're saying the guy who drank the thing.
Yes, he's in the wheelchair because he drank strychnine, because he believed, like, I'm going to do this test of faith where I can drink this poison and God will protect me and my faith is strong enough. And he ends up getting paralyzed from the waist down because, like, obviously. And there's this idea of... if God exists, which I don't think the movie's really trying to say that God doesn't exist. No. I think it's trying to say...
I mean, it's kind of implied, but I wouldn't... They're not over the top with saying that.
It's not a overtly atheist movie.
It's not. It's a corruption movie.
Yes. And they're trying to say of... if you think that some higher being is going to take precedent over your own actions, then you are delusional.
Yeah, straight up.
There's the character Roy who murders his wife because he believes that his faith in God is strong enough that he could bring her back.
Which is also just like, who the fuck are you to toy with someone else's life?
Yes. I also think of that of just like, well, first of all, she wasn't in on it. So
no shit. She was fucking...
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, like, this is not a willing participant.
No.
So this is how you think God works. Yeah. Of your faith in God is so strong that you can kill somebody who has no idea what this is like. You had any of these plans.
Check this out.
And that
I've been watching a lot of Forensic Files.
Oh.
And
okay.
So I watched this episode last night, and it's about this fucking police officer, true story, they're all true. This police officer who wants to be the chief of police in this city. This is like in 2004, semi recently. But he can't become the chief of police because for whatever rules, the chief of police needs to live within the city limits, and he lived outside of the city.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's most.
But check this out. So he had a job with the police force that he was allowed to do with his address, but he couldn't be the chief because he didn't live within the municipality or some shit like that. I don't know why. So he tells his wife that he wants to move to the city.
Okay.
So he could do this job, but she doesn't want to leave because they're from this town. So he hires these people to rob his own house to get his wife convinced that it's a dangerous neighborhood and they need to move.
This sounds like Fargo.
So they rob the guy's house and they fucking kill his wife.
Oh my God.
Like it just goes. I guess he hired 2 fucking morons.
I mean that's kind of the plot of Fargo.
All right,
not
we did
really.
it, boss. Wait.
Yeah.
Well, she's dead. She's dead. Didn't you want us to kill? No. Like I don't know how you get that wrong. Like just be like, by the way, don't murder her. Like that. To me, that feels like a detail that needs to be taken care of ahead of time. But anyway,
but
the point is, who are you to
Yes.
make these decisions?
Yes.
To fuck with people's lives. And I was also thinking, like, man, like, is this how it was back in the day?
I mean, down south in the late 40s, 50s, and 60s, I'm sure that there was a lot of that.
Dark shit.
Well, so why I say is that this movie isn't like an overtly atheist movie is because there is kind of like the hint of like a higher power going on. I talked about the narrator, and the movie is narrated by kind of this voice who you never see who this person is, who's kind of talking about the entire movie, who's narrating the entire thing, but it is kind of this objective, unemotional narrator who's telling the story but takes no action on it, and I always thought that was kind of the voice of God.
I must have been high or something, but I didn't notice there was a narrator.
How'd you not notice that there was a narrator?
I really didn't. There was a narrator?
Throughout the entire movie. What are you talking about?
I didn't notice that.
How'd you not notice that there's a voice narrating the entire movie?
Saying what?
Telling you what's going on. Going into like how'd you not notice that there was a fucking dude narrating the entire movie?
I literally have no idea what you're talking about. I was just
Yeah, the entire movie. Hold on, I gotta get into my mic. Yeah, the entire movie there's a fucking narrator.
I must have missed that.
Okay. All right.
I'm not honestly 100%. I'm not fucking around. Like this is actually it's kind of scary.
Yeah, the dude who wrote the book narrates the entire
movie. Really?
Yes.
I considered not sharing that thought because I was like, well, I can't admit that. It's happening the whole time.
Yeah, the entire movie. It starts off with narration. He talks about these 2 towns that the movie takes place in.
Yeah.
And, all right, so we talk about there is kind of a voice of God.
Didn't stand out
in the movie. And there is just like a lot of coincidence going on. Like it seems like almost a lot of what happened was fated to happen. Like Arvin's...
Like what?
Arvin's parents and the couple that are serial killers, they both meet on the same diner at the same day. Arvin's stepsister's parents are then murdered by that serial killer, who Arvin would then later run into later in life. End of the movie. Then the corrupt sheriff, Sebastian Stan, who tries to murder Arvin at the end, is the same guy who picked him up in his police car. Yeah. And also he says this kind of just really fucking asshole line, which I think because Sebastian, the cop.
You're trying to say a cop was being an asshole? I don't know where this guy gets his ideas from. I gotta be honest with you. That's a wacky one, Greg. Let's see if follow that up.
Where the movie is saying like these characters are bad because they're religious, but there are unreligious bad people also with the cop, who's not particularly like, he doesn't see himself as a voice of God, but he does kind of see himself as kind of the authority of this town. And he says a really asshole thing to Arvin when after Arvin's father kills himself. He's in the back of the car and he's just like, listen, your father wasn't anything. Some people are just born so that they can be put in the ground. And it's such a scummy thing to say. And
what does that even mean? Like what kind of like,
it's just
I guess I said that about the preacher guy, like the earth wasn't missing him or something.
No, it's just a dumb thing to fucking say to someone.
It's just a dumb, like...
but there's another
Southern
kind of theme of there's a kind of another theme of just like, if you commit violent acts, something worse will happen to you after that. Karma, essentially, because there is kind of the cosmic karma that when you inflict pain on someone, that won't necessarily cause something terrible to happen to you, but something unrelated that's terrible might happen. Yeah. And I talk about like the father Willard. He goes out to beat up these 3 men who insulted his wife. And then in kind of like a weird cosmic karma, he comes home, and then that day he finds out his wife has cancer.
Yeah.
He's praying to a silent God who, like, he thinks God will fix all of his problems, because he has 2 ways of thinking of things. If you have a problem, either you pray to God and he fix it, or you beat the shit out of somebody. Boy. And he kills his family dog because...
Oh, that was a smart one.
He kills his family's dog because he's like, well, I keep talking to God and God isn't saying anything back, so he must want something more from me.
You want me to kill my dog?
He commits violence and kills his dog.
No, I didn't say that, you fucking dummy. Now I'm not helping you with your wife.
Well, exactly. Well, he kills his dog, and then the next day the wife dies. And then later on, when
I kind of know what you're saying, not to interrupt, but I'm doing a lot of interrupting.
Cosmic justice.
No, I get that, but also like as far as like the women in this movie, they are just
no, exactly.
They are just like, okay, like,
yeah, exactly. And then Arvin with his stepsister is bullied at school, so he leaves to beat up the bullies, and it's when he's gone beating up the bullies that this reverend, this like predator reverend, kind of makes his move on her.
Right. Exactly.
And then you see Arvin murders the Reverend, but then he runs into 2 people who are even worse. These 2 serial killers. Yep. He has to kill them.
See,
and then
this is why he leads the show, because and then he makes all these connections. Someone who,
the brother might not be worse than the serial killers. I mean, the serial killers have killed a lot of people, but he's definitely like a bigger threat to Arvin. Of like every time that first it's the bullies, then it's the Reverend, then it's the serial killers, then it's the corrupt sheriff. Like each time it just becomes worse and worse for him. Right. And it's kind of like this cycle of violence is going to keep going. And your father didn't break the cycle of violence, and it went on to you. If you don't break this, then it's going to go on to your kids. And I saw that ending of, he's kind of weighing his options for the future, Arvin. He's kind of saying, do I enlist in Vietnam, aka do I commit more violence, or do I just find a girl to marry and have a family? And we don't know what Arvin chooses, but he's basically at this moment of like, I have a chance to break the cycle of violence. Am I going to do it?
He actually starts a podcast.
He starts a podcast. Yeah.
Should I get into sourdough?
Fucking Christ.
Stupid ass jokes that are not that funny at all.
I also liked the beginning scene
if
when
you don't start a podcast, God's gonna kill your wife.
The beginning scene when the father is in World War II. So he's in World War II and he sees like one of his soldiers being crucified. Yeah. And it kind of sets the tone of the rest of the movie. 1, with the violence, and 2, of like, you think your religion is going to save you. Like, I make a joke out of your religion. Like, look at this horrible thing. I desecrate your religion. And I mean, I don't know if, any soldiers were actually crucified by the Japanese. But during World War II, the United States soldiers who were captured notoriously were treated horribly.
Like our grandfather.
Our grandfather, who was not captured, but he did fight in World War II. Well, he was, yes.
In Japan.
In the Philippines.
Yeah, sorry.
But even besides...
Oh, yeah, I thought it was Japan. It's the Philippines?
Well, our grandfather, we never invaded Japan. We talked about this when we did Saga, that we never invaded Japan.
Oh, okay.
But
I don't know what I'm talking about when I say things.
Well, there is.
He was shot in World War II.
He was shot in World War II in the Philippines.
Okay. My bad.
But Japan kind of has always had very like rough relationship with Christianity, where there was a long time where like if you were Christian in Japan, it was like a death sentence.
Really?
Well, specifically Catholic, just because they saw like if these people are loyal to the Pope, then they're not loyal to the Emperor. And a lot of like, you know, these Jesuit priests were like land in Japan and then like be tortured and like forced to renounce their religion. So it kind of starts of just like this historic idea of like your religion is not going to save you. And I make a mockery of your religion, and it takes a tone for the rest of the movie because you see these characters think God is just going to come down and fix all their problems. They think that everything they do, it's because God is doing for them. It, you know, one, they're not taking credit for the good things they do. They're also not taking responsibility for the bad things they do.
Well, it is a weird dynamic of like, it's just sort of like this non-responsibility thing where it's just like, yeah, like you said, I mean, the good things are because of God, but then if something tragic happens, it's also because of God.
Yeah.
Like you're like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. And it is, I mean, you know.
Well, God wanted her. It was her time. And then if you like win the lottery, it's like, well, God he works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but
well,
it is
a nut job.
Well, it is just a one-sided relationship. Really. I mean, you could just argue. Yeah, I mean, you could just argue that God doesn't exist. But assuming that there is a God,
I don't think that's an argument, Greg.
Okay. Assuming that there is a God, assuming that in the world of the devil all the time, there is a God. It's a one-sided relationship because it's people constantly praying towards him.
Hopefully
and him God.
I don't know. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to like, well, I don't want to die, but I guess we all have to at some point. But I'd like it to be just like, hey, no, just heaven, real thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be great.
You could drink.
And you can drink alcohol.
You could do whatever.
And you can do whatever you want. Not whatever. Not whatever you want.
Watch football. Get blowjobs. By men and women. Dead and alive. Whatever you like. If you're into that sort of thing.
Okay. I saw
God made a dead guy blow me my first day in heaven.
Can we fucking not do this? It is.
That'd be weird though.
I had a point, and I don't remember what it was.
That's what I do.
Okay. Well, I like this movie. I like it.
But we don't know anything about the director. Because I feel like that would be interesting to know. Like, what
I looked him up. I don't really know his work, and I don't really know the. I looked up the author of the book mostly. I was expecting him to be like a former priest or something, because this feels like the type of movie that like somebody who was someone who was a religious person, kind of like the Dan Brown, who wrote the Da Vinci Code, was
he actually religious? Like,
he was a priest and he left.
Oh shit!
Yeah. All I know is that he grew up in Knockemstiff, which is like where the movie takes place.
Yeah. It just sounds like a fake name.
Oh, it's a real town. Both of them, Knockemstiff and Cold Creek, are both real towns. And
what is it? Tennessee?
No, West Virginia and Ohio. Sorry. I mean, it's one of those.
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say it. But it's...
And by the way, there's certainly parts of Long Island that could easily be West Virginia. So if you're like, you guys are from New York. No, we're not
No. We're from Long Island, and there are parts of Long Island.
It's a scary place, believe me.
Yeah.
Hills have eyes.
There's...
The bagels have eyes.
There's every...
That was fire.
No, that was fire. Bagels have every type of American lives on Long Island.
Yes. They've all been kind of soaked in like olive oil and fear.
They've been soaked in pesto sauce, fucking, and just have a little bit of garlic on
and
them.
A little homophobia over here.
That wasn't what I was gonna say.
A little I peaked in high school over here.
I really like this movie for the themes. I understand and I get it. The plot is very much kind of like a almost like a Catcher in the Rye. You know what I mean? It's like, think about Catcher in the Rye. Yeah. There's no real overarching story. It's kind of just like one thing happens, that leads to another thing, that leads to another thing, that leads to another thing. That's what this kind of movie is.
Yeah.
And it's ironic that I like this because I always say that I'm more into like plot, but this one, like the themes, and especially of just like, I keep using this term, the cycle of violence, how it comes from one generation and bleeds into another. How another thing is kind of like you see the first like quarter of the movie is the older generation, and then there's kind of like a quarter of the way through of kind of just like they all get killed off at once.
I know. It becomes like a Scorsese movie.
They all get killed off at once, and then it goes on to the next generation. Right. But you do see how like the actions of this generation and the violence that this generation caused,
almost worse,
bleeds into the next generation. Yeah. And you see Arvin, like, you understand who he is as an older teenager because of everything his father taught him. You know, this scene where
he beats up the bullies.
The scene where Willard beats up the guys who were talking shit about his wife, Arvin says, like, that was the best moment I ever had with my father.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the type of person he's going forward. And I like how, like, you know, Tom Holland is... I saw this, you know, I know Tom Holland because he's Spider-Man, but he's fantastic as this character.
As the father?
Tom Holland is the teenager.
Oh, okay.
He's plays Spider-Man. Tom Holland, I know you don't watch any of them.
I mean, the last time Spider-Man I watched was, what's his name? Parker.
Peter Parker? That's all of them. Tobey Maguire is who you're thinking of. I was like, damn, Tom Holland is like actually a really great actor because he plays this character of like, you understand exactly why he's like this.
Yeah.
You know? I thought him and Robert Pattinson is amazing performances. All the like themes of everything that I talked about were things that I really liked about it. The critiques I have are, again, of just like the women characters are just kind of there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they're basically just victims.
Even
the one who's basically a serial killer accomplice.
Even Sandy is basically also a victim.
Like, oh, it's, you know, being dragged along by her husband. By the way, who's that actor? He looked really familiar.
Oh, okay. I forget his name. I do not like him. As an actor, I do not like him.
You didn't like this performance?
This performance was fine. Jason Clarke, I want to say.
I don't know. I thought
you thought he was great.
Well, I mean, he did his job.
This is one of his better performances.
I mean, even just his fucking face, like everything about him, like, oh my god.
You know what he's in? I know you didn't see this. Last year there was a remake of Pet Sematary.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays the father. He's in a lot of stuff. He was in one of the newest Terminator movies, which I know you didn't see. I didn't see it either. He's around and he does a lot of stuff.
He looks
and
familiar.
Also, like, you know, almost every character in this, you know, we've seen is somewhere else. Like, this is a very like star-studded cast. You know, Sebastian Stan's in a lot of stuff. He was in I, Tonya, which I know you love.
Oh yeah,
he's the abusive boyfriend in I, Tonya.
Right.
Yeah. Tom Holland, who obviously Spider-Man. I, Tonya was a great movie.
It was.
We might have to do that. Yeah, foreshadowing or fucking whatever. I'm just telling you.
Foreshadowing.
I'm just telling you. Eventually, we'll get to it.
Did you see the foreshadowing in Movies by McManus?
Where he said, eventually we'll do I, Tanya. We should, because I love Tanya Harding.
I love, what's her name?
Nancy Kerrigan?
No.
Margot Robbie?
That one.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom Holland is also great. Bill Skarsgård is great. Skarsgård. And Robert Pattinson.
Guarding all your scars since 84.
Robert Pattinson, I think this is the best performance of the year.
For an English guy, not a bad accent. Gotta be honest.
Yeah, it was off-putting at first, but also it's just this very... I don't know what like part of the South he's supposed to be from, but it's this very tang. It's almost this creak of an accent that he does. It's higher pitched than a lot of the other ones. He speaks higher pitched, and it's almost this like creepy, unsettling voice that he's doing.
Yeah,
but it's still a Southern accent.
Well,
and I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He's also just a despicable person, and when he gets murdered, I was like so fucking happy when he finally gets killed.
Yeah, he's a bad one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if you want to go. I talked about what I liked about it. I don't know if you want to say what you don't like about it.
Well, no, it's not that I... What?
Well, just the reviews are mixed. I was actually surprised how many people really didn't like this movie. How many people like really had the same complaints that you had.
Yeah, it just seems like a slugfest. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just like they just beat you over the fucking head for 2.5 hours.
It's brutal.
It's a brutal
movie to watch.
I would have just liked a little more... I don't want to say story, because I understand that like not everything is a story. Sometimes it's more about a mood or a tone. Yeah. But it just seemed to be a little one-dimensional on the brutality side.
Right.
Where it's like, I wish there could have been a little more film making going on.
Okay.
You know?
I think that's a legitimate critique of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hate it. It's not. And hearing you recount a bunch of things, because he's seen it twice.
I've seen it twice. I saw it when it came out on Netflix, and then I saw it again with you.
I just saw it for this. So it sounds like even on a second viewing, you're picking up like a ton of different connections and stuff like that. So it's probably deeper than it seemed to me.
Right.
You know, where if I go back and watch it, I don't know that I would do that.
Well, here's another thing that I also think of, just like people should pick up on like if you're a filmmaker, you should want people to pick up on things the first time that they watched it. If people aren't picking up on things until their second viewing, then it wasn't present enough.
Wow. Okay.
You know?
I mean,
like if you have a major theme of like, you know, the generational cycle of violence, or this relationship where human beings are screaming up at God who's completely silent, and someone doesn't catch that until their second viewing, or if you have a narrator in your movie and the first time somebody watches it, they don't even notice it, then it probably wasn't present enough. But I think I do think all, you know, the critiques of the movie are legitimate, I think.
I didn't think anyone gave a bad acting performance, though. I will say that. I didn't think Robert Pattinson was like amazing. I thought he was good.
Yeah. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? The first time I watched it, I was like, Robert Pattinson is my favorite performance of the year, and Tom Holland as Arvin was my second favorite. But now I think I might have them switched. I think I like Arvin's performance better.
Arvin is the kid?
Arvin is the kid, yeah. I actually think I liked his performance better. I mean, he's just great. He nails this fucking role.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's also British.
The father was good, too.
The father is Bill Skarsgård, who he played It.
Guarding all the scars. Isn't he British, too?
He's also British.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. And no, Sebastian Stan is not British. But
see what they're doing? They're trying to
take over. Well, you know what? I think The southern accent is kind of just like a slowed down British accent.
They kind of say that, right? Don't they say something like that?
It's just if the
British, the Committee on Accents.
I don't know. If you could take a British accent and just slow it down, it kind of sounds like a southern accent.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's true.
No,
I've heard that before. I've heard that before.
Where it's like where you could go back and try to hear what Americans sounded like during the Revolutionary War. Well, that would just be British.
Well, no, because this
Civil
is
War.
Totally off topic. The British accent that that exists today was not around 300 years ago.
Oh, because of the Beatles.
Because of fuck.
The Beatles invented the British accent. A lot of people don't know
that. They said like George Washington, the way he spoke would be like, it would be closer to like a New York, Brooklyn accent.
What?
Yes, because the people
Get the hell out of here.
Hold on. The people that was like the British accent was like the New York was like the New York Brooklyn accent was the British accent. But
what?
All right, so the British accent that exists today, the British accent that exists. No, that's why we speak like this.
What? Because
our accent just hasn't, or it's changed a bit. I'm not saying like he legit spoke in a Brooklyn accent. What I'm saying is the accent that George Washington spoke in is closer to how we speak than how modern day British people speak. I'm not saying he was going around saying "use guys," gabagool, and all that stuff. Tony Soprano. George Washington was Tony Soprano. Oh my God. And they're both in hell. All right, this has been Movies by McManus.
Benedict Arnold was wearing a wire.
Benedict Arnold was the original government informant.
You're cutting this early here.
I'm cutting. Yeah. Am I? Didn't we start?
We could go. We got another like 15 minutes. We could wrap now. It's up to you.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
You're giving us the light. He's trying to get out of here.
I wasn't trying to get out of here. I legit thought that
he's got a wife to stab in the neck and bury.
I thought
that's a reference to the movie before.
That shit was fucking
real stupid.
Well, this idea of a test of faith, which is something like during that time people like did. They would do stupid things to try, and you see of like the cousin. He drinks strychnine because he believes that his faith in God will protect him, and leaves him paralyzed. And instead of then thinking, well, that was a fucking stupid thing to do, he instead thinks, oh, my faith in God must have not been strong enough. Or when the dude covers himself in spiders because he thinks that God's going to protect him from not getting bitten, and then he does get bit and it blows up, he doesn't think of, well, maybe I shouldn't fucking cover myself in spiders. He instead think of just like, this is God telling me that like my faith isn't strong enough and I need to really push it and really prove to him, and that's what leads him to killing his wife.
Yeah, I mean, well, that just goes into like what I was saying before of like, man, I can't believe were things actually like this for people back then. And I think the scariest thought is just how much of life, I mean, there's still so many unknowns in life, and like, yeah, everything is still kind of scary and up in the air for sure. But like, imagine back then, like obviously pre-internet, but like science in a lot of ways, like, right, education in a lot of ways. Like, man, yeah, you think like people need some kind of foundation to hang on to something, otherwise they'd go completely insane. And I guess that was religion, but it ended up turning them insane, I guess, is kind of the point of this movie.
mean, how crazy do you have to be to drink strychnine thinking that it won't affect you? How crazy do you have to be to kill your dog thinking like, if God is all knowing and all loving, you think he wants you to murder your dog?
But dude, we grew up with sense and reason, like, how was it back then? All you had to go on were these fucking stories of like biblical craziness. So I don't know, like, human beings are super malleable. We're really impressionable.
That's another thing I was thinking of. Like, Willard kills the dog, and then like his wife dies pretty much right after. I think that if the wife like kept living, but was still very sick. It was only a matter of time before like Willard killed his son as like another, sacrifice to God. He
would have just went further.
He would have because that's the thing of just like, I had a test of faith that didn't work, and I'm just going further into it. You dig yourself even deeper into your beliefs.
I mean, look at like religious things like honor killings or something like that, where it's just like, oh, you betrayed, me or God, and therefore I'm going to kill you. Like, someone just got caught like a couple months back, I think over the summer, and he was like a fugitive for 15 years because he killed like 2 of his daughters in an honor killing because they dated someone he didn't approve of. Like, the point is like, or I don't know, pick your example, like the Catholic Church. Like, I mean, that's more of an abuse of a power dynamic, of course, but like,
I mean, the abuse of power also plays into it.
Yeah, there's plenty of examples of like religious thought just running amok, or just from, the straight kind of scam artist route of like, preying on the vulnerable for, the infomercials of the world, Jerry Falwell's and that sort of thing. So it's kind of like Scientology, like it's always the same thing. Sex cults, like it's just like preying on the vulnerable.
I think that there's the draw is that people believe that this person in authority is closer to God. And you see that with Lorraine, because she's praying for her father to return, or at least to like know what happened, and she's constantly praying, but God is always silent because God is not going to bring back her father, and God's really not going to come down and like give her the answers of what happened. And she sees Robert Pattinson's character and is drawn to Robert Pattinson's character because he is closer to God. So she's had this relationship with God where she's been speaking to him and he's been completely silent. And then this man comes into her life, this abusive man comes into her life, who claims to be the voice of God, who says, if you're closer to me, then, it's breaking the silence. And it's the same with the serial killer with Carl, because he claims that he kills people because it's only in the presence of death that he could feel God. And
that's the most deranged quote I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, the narrator says that. So if you remember that line, then you remember that there was narrating.
But again, like the whole, like, what gives you the right to do
exactly
that? Like, that's the problem with religion, where it's just like,
that's another thing of just like, I need to be in the presence of death to feel closer to God. What about the dude you just killed? Don't they have the right to feel closer to God also? And you just took it. Well, I guess you're sending him up there, so maybe, I don't know, maybe that's his way of justifying it. But it's all, I mean, he's also
the right
just
to take anyone's life. It's as simple as
like
that.
You don't think these characters actually like believe their own bullshit.
I don't know.
Like, it's just a way of I feel like few of them, maybe a few of them do,
the
but
serial killer probably not. That's probably just
it's a way of fucking justifying being terrible. I'm sure Robert Pattinson doesn't actually believe he's saving these girls.
How do you actually like kill someone like with your wife and kill a bunch of people and then like what do you want to do tonight, hun? Like let's just order in and watch a movie. Like, how do you do?
It's insane that like they met at a diner. So they meet at the diner. You kind of see them flirting with each other, and then the next time you see them, they've like started their serial killing career. Like, how do you just convince someone to be a fucking serial killer with you?
I don't know. So what kind of job do you have?
Fucking kill people.
Well, I'm in sales. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so listen, I really like you. Or I think we should take things to the next level, but, I was thinking like, what if you have sex with other dudes
and I kill them?
I kill them? Like, at what point is that conversation brought up? Like, does he feel it out first? Just like, oh man, crazy day. Like,
what's the feeling out process?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, how does that happen?
Do you think it starts with just like maybe you maybe you have sex with another dude and then I punch him in the face. Maybe you have sex with a dude and then, you know,
that's cool.
yeah, if that's cool. And then we do that a few times and then maybe you have sex with a dude and, you know, I just stab him a little bit.
Just give him a little poke.
Just a little poke. And then, you know, eventually it's just like, hey, why don't I just kill these people?
Should I cut his dick off? Should we do that?
Dick off. This movie is wild.
It's really wild. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just real wild, you know? And by the way, like, I would say I don't really recommend this movie for, like, the faint of heart. Like, I feel like this could do a lot of damage to people.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't handle... Like, the reason I could watch this now and just be like, okay, it's fake. I'm an adult. But if I was, like... No joke. Like, if I was, like, 14... No, that's probably too old. But if I was, like... 10, I don't know why a
10-year-olds. You shouldn't have 10-year-olds watching this.
Well, that's
movie.
what I'm saying, but it's on Netflix, so fucking kids are on YouTube and shit.
No,
I sound like the PMRC.
No, you have a point.
Like, that should be parental
here's what I say with recommendations.
Yeah.
And I kind of noticed this with a lot of the, you know, movies that we review on this of
This don't really give recommendations.
No, not really. But what I would say is this is a movie for people who are really into movies. Like, this isn't a movie like, you know, there are some cinephile people. You know, this is a movie that's for cinephiles.
It's not for major consumption.
If you're, and it's not for major consumption. And if you're just somebody who maybe isn't like super passionate about movies like I am, then you may not like this.
Yeah.
Or maybe like this is a movie for filmmakers.
Would you consider this a horror movie?
No, I'd consider this like a thriller. I would kill this like a psychological thriller, maybe. Like a thriller. I wouldn't really consider it a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's not scary. The serial killer's a little bit, but I wouldn't really say that there's like
not scary.
It's not scary.
It's not like jump out, you know.
No, and there is kind of an ominous tone throughout the entire movie. I talked about this with Atlanta.
The music was not bad. I'll give the music was kind of like setting the tone of some scenes. I don't know if you call it music or like just the scoring.
Yeah, no, the scoring. Yeah. I talked about this with Atlanta last week. There is kind of this ominous feeling of dangers around the corner.
Yeah.
A lot of this movie takes place like in the backwoods, and it kind of is like dangers in the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's just like something can jump out and grab you at any moment, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much around the corner as it is right in your face.
Or right in your face. But, I mean, every character in this movie is kind of a garbage person.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. It was like, it seemed like the writers had some kind of bet with themselves, like how they could up it. Like, no, this character is going to be even shittier. Like, no, this is going to be even more crazy.
I get what you're saying with that, but I don't... The way I explained it, of things just get worse and worse as the cycle of violence keeps going. I feel like that's more that it's going for.
We don't really ever do. Well, we never do this, but like if you were to grade this movie like out of 10, well, just out of curiosity. I know we don't do this, but
8.
You're really? That seems kind of high.
You know, 8 or 9, but yes, but I tend to like movies a lot better when I had just seen them. And so in a month or a year from now, I might have a totally different opinion on it.
Right.
I don't know. It's
so you like this quite a lot.
I like it a lot.
You basically almost loved it.
Yes, this is probably my favorite movie to come out this year. Not that it has a lot of competition.
Right.
I also had just seen it, kind of. So I mean, you can't know your true thoughts, how much you really like a movie until it's like sit with you for a while. You know.
No, I agree, and that's why like we don't really ever do that. I don't really.
I don't like rating movies.
I was just curious.
Yeah, especially
it's not part of the show. It's just we're just sitting here bullshitting.
Especially, I don't like rating, especially not giving like a number rating, just because like my opinions on a certain movie change day to day. Like there are days, talking about the movie Joker specifically, there are days when I think about that movie and I'm just like, that movie was great. And then other days when I'm just like, that movie wasn't as deep as I thought it was originally.
You were really into that movie. I
was really into that movie so it might be a Joker situation where, a year from now, maybe I'll just think, oh, it was all right. I mean, when Joker came out, I thought that was the best movie to come out that year. I don't know if I still agree with that, but
yeah.
Also, like, this movie has no fucking competition, really. Not a lot of shit has come out,
No, it hasn't.
All right. Let's wrap this up.
Let's do it.
So, the devil all the time. Look, if you're into brutal shit, if you're willing to sit with it, go do it. It has a lot of themes and talks on God and violence. This has been Movies by McManus. So you can go to our YouTube channel where I do kind of the shorter breakdowns of movies, and then also you could see the video format of this podcast. Also, check us out on social media at Movies by McManus. And
thanks for watching.
I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike, and thanks for watching. And have a good night. And break the circle of violence. Have a good night.